Hi friends, welcome back. I am here to give you my first part one of my pile of possibilities TBR for March. There are two readathons going on, and I wish you could see this. My cat is sitting right below the tripod looking at me as if he were my audience. As I was saying, Hopper, there are two readathons going on in March. The Irish Readathon, and which is hosted by Leanne. Is her channel Leanne Rose? Leanne Rose Reads. Leanne Reads. I'll link down below. And Eva of Words of Clover. And I think they added a third host that I'm not familiar with, but I will link all that down below. The Irish Readathon, and then Middle Grade March, which is Middle Grade March. Krista Books at Jams, and Amanda from On the Middle Shelf, and Life Between Words. Her first name is just escaping me. Again, we'll link all below. Anyway, this is a stack that I could potentially read. Not all of them, but what I could choose from for just one of the readathons. This is my stack for the Irish Readathon. So shall we go through it? I will say the prompts, I don't know if these will meet the prompts with both readathons. The hosts basically say if you read an Irish book, if you read a middle grade book, you've won, right? So what I did was I took all, excuse me, the cat knocked off my paper. So I just pulled off all the books on my to be read shelf that I know are by Irish authors, and are bringing them out for just, I could possibly get to them. Just a quick update on my TBR. February didn't go well. That was the first time we did the TBR jar. I'm not retiring the TBR jar that fast, but since there are these readathons going on, we're not going to do the TBR jar for March. Maybe we'll bring it back in April. But as a mood reader, I could pick from any of these. That's kind of my thinking. Maybe it'll be more successful than February. We'll see. So let's get into the books. So the first one I have is actually by an Irish American author, which kind of stretches the Irish Readathon a little bit. But it was on my shelf, so I pulled it out. And I've heard a lot about it, and I have not yet read it. And that is Angela's Ashes by Frank McCourt. This is about Frank McCourt's childhood, being raised in America by a Irish immigrant family, and that's kind of all I know about it. It's well known. It's been out for a long time. It's been on my shelf for a long time. I'm not sure why I haven't read it. It was first published in 1996. And yeah, it says, when I look back on my childhood, I wonder how I managed to survive it all. It was, of course, a miserable childhood. The happy childhood is hardly worth your while. Worse than the ordinary miserable childhood is the miserable Irish childhood. And worse yet is the miserable Irish Catholic childhood. So this will be interesting. I was raised in half Irish Catholic home. My mom was Irish Catholic. So I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I did have a couple of classics that I have not gotten to yet. This one is A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man and Dubliners, or in this volume, by James Joyce. It says, widely regarded as the greatest stylist of 20th century English literature, James Joyce deserves the term revolutionary. His experiments in form and structure and in language and content signaled the modernist movement and continue to influence writers today. His two earliest and perhaps most accessible successes are here brought together in one volume. The semi-autobiographical A Portrait of the Artist as a Young Man, young Stephen Dedalus yearns to be an artist, but first must struggle against the forces of church, school, and society, which fetter his imagination and stifle his soul. The book's inventive style is apparent from its opening pages, and is one of the first examples of the stream of consciousness technique. Comprising 15 stories, Dubliners presents a community of mesmerizing, humorous, haunting characters, a group portrait. The interactions among them form one long meditation on the human condition, culminating with The Dead, one of Joyce's most graceful compositions. So of those two synopses, The Dubliners kind of grabs me more, but we'll see. I'll give it a try and see if I want to go with this one or the other classic, which is The Picture of Dorian Gray by Oscar Wilde. I really don't know why I haven't read this one yet. I've heard a lot about it and am very intrigued by it, and by Oscar Wilde, his life. I'm not sure. It's just one of those too many books, so little time kind of problems. Oscar Wilde brings his enormous gifts of astute social observation and sparkling prose to The Picture of Dorian Gray, his dreamlike story of a young man who sells his soul for eternal youth and beauty. This dandy who remains forever unchanged, petulant, hedonistic, vain, and amoral, while a painting of him ages and grows increasingly hideous with the years, has been horrifying, enchanting, obsessing, even corrupting readers for more than 100 years. That is a sentence indeed. That is a long sentence. Taking the reader in and out of London drawing rooms to the heights of aestheticism and to the depths of decadence, The Picture of Dorian Gray is not only a melodrama about moral corruption, laced with bon mots and vivid depictions of upper-class refinement. It is also a fascinating look at the milieu of Wilde's fin de silence world and manifesto of the creed, art for art's sake. That was a rough synopsis to read. I might try a little bit of that and see how we feel about this. But that synopsis it really sounded like a college class again, which I get it's taught in college classes, but come on, make the synopsis accessible for everybody. This book I started last Irish Readathon. Word finding difficulties. That is a part of my chronic illness. This is We Don't Know Ourselves, A Personal History of Modern Ireland by Fintan O'Toole. I started this on audio last year. I was on a road trip and had the audio for this, and then the audio was due back and I hadn't finished it yet, so I went and picked up a copy of it. I might try and find the audio again and have it. There are pictures in here, which I do enjoy, especially in nonfiction, that you can look at. This is weaving his own experience as a son of working class Dublin into Irish society, culture, and economic change. Vincent O'Toole tells the remarkable story of how Ireland, in just one lifetime, went from a conservative Catholic backwater to a globalized nation. So yeah, I've always been curious about the history of Ireland. I don't know that much about the Troubles. So I've been trying to read more to learn more about what happened during that time and throughout Irish history. So I'm pretty sure I'll get to this. There is a prompt for a book with green on the cover, and the author's name is in green. I don't know if you can tell. And then the other prompt I thought this would be for is a book related to number 7. There are a lot of words on here, so let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. More than, how about that? A title with more than 7 words. Does that work? Maybe. Or, yeah, let's use that. This book is almost 600 pages, so I'm probably going to need a refresher on where I was at in it, because it's been a year almost exactly since I last was listening to the book. So yeah, that's the nonfiction. I think I have maybe another nonfiction on here anyway. With all that heavy reading, I'm gonna need a little bit lighter books as well. So I pulled my, I did not pull all of it. Hold 1 second, please. Move some around. You may have already seen my library haul. If not, I'll show you below, because I have a couple library books that also may get read in March for the Irish Readathon. Who knows? So this is one I just hauled by Marion Keyes. This is Last Chance Saloon. I got this at a library book sale recently, and this is about 3 best friends and moving into their 30s life. So friendships, 30-year-old women. Yeah, definitely would be fun. Marion Keyes is very fun. All right, the other Marion Keyes I have is The Mystery of Mercy Close. This is another of the Walsh sister novels. I read Rachel's Holiday, which is about Rachel. This one is about Helen Walsh. Helen doesn't believe in fear. It's just a thing invented by men to get all the money and good jobs, and yet she's sinking. Her work as a private investigator has dried up, her flat has been repossessed, and now some old demons have resurfaced. Not least in the form of her charming but dodgy ex-boyfriend Jay Parker, who shows up with missing persons case. Money is tight, so tight that Helen's had to move back in with her elderly parents, and Jay is awash in cash. The missing person is Wayne Diffney, the wacky one from boy band Lads. He's vanished from his house in Mercy Close, and it's vital that he be found. Lads has a sellout comeback gig in 5 days' time. So yeah, that sounds, it reminds me of Janet Ivanovich's series, the Stephanie Plum series, which I read with my mom as they came out. Well, I can't remember, we started reading it probably around like book, I don't know, 15, and so her and I started back reading the books and would get them from the library, and whoever had it, first. That's a fun memory for me. And this sounds like it might be the Irish version of the Stephanie Plum series by Janet Ivanovich. So this one is kind of pulling me more than the other one, but again, we'll see where I'm at. This book I've been wanting to read for a long time, and have said that about everything. This is Milkman by Anna Burns. In an unnamed city, middle sister stands out for the wrong reasons. She reads while walking, for one, and she has been taking French night classes downtown. So when a local paramilitary named Milkman begins pursuing her, she suddenly becomes interesting. The last thing she ever wanted to be. Despite middle sister's attempt to avoid him and to keep her mother from finding out about her maybe boyfriend, rumors spread and the threat of violence lingers. Milkman is a story of the way inaction can have enormous repercussions in a time when the wrong flag, wrong religion, and even a sunset can be subversive. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that. Anna Burns is from Belfast, North Ireland. And it's got a beautiful cover. I love that cover. All right, the next one is one that I did haul in the same library book sale haul as the other Marian Keys. This is Nora by Nuala O'Connor. It's a love story of Nora and James Joyce. Takes place in Dublin, 1904. Nora Barnacle is a 20-year-old from Galway working as a maid at Finn's Hotel. And she meets James Joyce and she follows him in pursuit of a life beyond Ireland, strike up friends with famous people, and Nora finds herself in conflict between her intense desire for each other and the constant anxiety of living in poverty throughout Europe. She desperately wants literary success for Jim, believing in his singular gift and knowing that he thrives on being the toast of the town. And it eventually provides her with the security long lacking in her life and his work. So yeah, it's about it's a fictional account of their marriage, and it sounds like a woman the wife putting the husband's pursuits first. This is a nonfiction that I was supposed to read in February. I have not gotten to it. It is the end, this is the second to last week in February, and it's almost the end of the week. Yeah, I don't think I'm going to get to it. So I'm putting it on my list for the Irish Readathon. This is A Diary of a Young Naturalist by Dara McNulty. And I've given the synopsis before on here, but it's basically a climate change, an autistic teenager coping with the uprooting of home, school, and his mental health while pursuing his life as a conservationist and environmental activist. So I will try and get to that in March. There are a few authors this year that I would like to read to zero. And one of those is Maggie O'Farrell. The Marriage Portrait was one of my favorite books last year. I really love her memoir, I Am. I've read some of her other books. Can't remember off the top of my head right now. The Heat Wave one, which I didn't blow me away, but I still enjoyed it. And I have two on my shelves. I'm not going to read both of them probably. I like to space them out, not read all of an author's work back to back. This one is This Must Be the Place. It says, a reclusive former film star living in the wilds of Ireland, Claudette Wells thinks nothing of firing a gun if strangers get too close to her house. Why is she so fiercely protective of her privacy, and what made her disappear at the height of her cinematic fame? Her husband Daniel, reeling from a discovery about a woman he last saw 20 years ago, is about to make an exit of his own. It is a journey that will send him off course, far from home. Will his love for Claudette be enough to bring him back? So that sounds really good. The They all sound really good. This one's really, really thick. How many pages are you? You are... Are you notes? Notes at the end? How many pages are you? That's acknowledgements. That's long acknowledgements. Okay. You are 483 pages. So we'll see about that one. The other Maggie O'Farrell I have to read is After You'd Gone. This one is about Alice Rakes boards a train at King's Cross to visit her sisters in Scotland. Hours later, she steps into traffic on a busy London road and is taken to hospital in a coma. Who or what did she see in Edinburgh that made her return so suddenly? Was the accident a suicide attempt? And what exactly do her family waiting at her bedside have to hide? Sliding between different levels of consciousness, Alice listens to the conversations around her and begins sifting through recollections of her past and of a recently curtailed love affair. That reminds me of Sometimes I Lie by Alice Feeney, who is another of my favorites, who I also want to read to zero this year. That sounds really good too. This one seems more doable. It's about 330 pages, 360 pages. The other Maggie O'Farrell I have is, I do have Hamnet on my shelves, but I have a buddy read plan to do that next month. So that will be my Maggie O'Farrell in April. Another author I'd like to read a little bit more from. I don't know if I'll do To Zero yet, because I've read one. I've read 56 Days by Catherine Ryan Howard, and I really liked it. And so I got The Nothing Man, which I believe is her debut. I'm pretty sure this is her debut. No, maybe not. Oh, no, she has a couple of backlists. She does. Okay. This is one that's pretty popular that I've heard a lot of good things about. She has more recent ones that have come out I haven't gotten my hands on yet. So this says, at the age of 12, Eve Black was the only member of her family to survive an encounter with a serial attacker in The Nothing Man. Now an adult, she is obsessed with identifying the man who destroyed her life. Supermarket security guard Jim Doyle has just started reading The Nothing Man, a true crime memoir Eve has written about her efforts to track down her family's killer. As he turns each page, his rage grows because Jim's not just interested in reading about the Nothing Man, he is the Nothing Man. Blah. Jim soon begins to realize how dangerously close Eve is getting to the truth. That sounds freaky. Yeah, I'm gonna put that high on my list. This one, I started reading when I first got it. This is Prophet Song by Paul Lynch. This won the Booker Prize last year. The Booker Prize? This is long. I'm pretty sure it's the Booker Prize that it won. And a number of people had this on their best of list. I really liked the writing when I started it. I think it was very similar to another book I was further along in at the time. And if two books have similar stories, or even like a murder happens in each one, I can't read those at the same time. I get them confused. I have to read like a romantic comedy book and a thriller together, or a memoir and a mystery together. It has to be different, very different, so that I can keep all the details straight. So I put this back down, but I think it's going to be intense and beautiful and all-consuming, and from just what I read already and what I've heard others say. It says, on a dark, wet evening in Dublin, scientist and mother of four, Irish Stack answers her front door to find the GNSB on her step. 2 officers from Ireland's newly formed secret police are here to interrogate her husband, a trade unionist. Ireland is falling apart. The country is in the grip of a government turning towards tyranny, and when her husband disappears, Irish, probably not saying that right, I apologize, finds herself caught within the nightmare logic of a society that is quickly unraveling. How far will she go to save her family, and what or who is she willing to leave behind? Exhilarating, terrifying, and propulsive, Prophet Song is a work of breathtaking originality, offering a devastating vision of societal collapse and a deeply human portrait of a mother's fight to hold her family together. I think that it's got relevance to today's political climate in more than just Ireland, and I think that that's also why it's going to be heavy hitting for me. So yeah, I've got that on my list, and I don't know, I'm kind of apprehensive about this. If you've read this, let me know. Allay my fears that it's not gonna break me apart like I think it will, which I'm not opposed to that. I just don't know if I'm there this month, especially after having read only 2 books so far in February. I think I will get to at least 4 books in February, because I've got 2 book club books that I still haven't read, but I don't know. And the library books that I'm interested in, which I won't read the synopsis because I did in the library book haul that I'll link below. This is Big Girl, Small Town by Michelle Galen, and Artemis Fowl by Ian Colfer. I think that's it. I think that's most of my Irish books on my bookshelf. You never know. I might, once I have them all in one location eventually, that will be awesome, and I can just see them all at once. But right now, they're kind of scattered throughout the house, so I think that's it. We'll see. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. I'm going to bring you a second part of this, probably in a couple days, of the Middle Grade March, TBR, Pile of Possibilities. Let me know if you're participating in the Irish Readathon, and I will talk to you again very soon. Bye. One last thing. I forgot to mention there's a group read for the Irish Readathon, which is The Rachel Incident by Carolyn O'Donoghue. I have read her before and really enjoyed her writing. I have not been able to get my hands on a book yet, the Rachel Incident book. I'm trying not to buy new books, like actual new books from the store. Used is fine. The library hold is long on that one, and as is the audiobook. So I'm gonna try to read that group read, but we'll see if I get to it. But that's it. Thanks. Bye.